Florida State is set to start practice March 6th, but what are some things that we're watching? What are some questions, rather, that we would like to have answers to by the end of spring football, by the time that the spring game concludes? I got a couple of thoughts for you. Warchant.com, the Florida State On 3 site, will cover this like nobody else in the business. Okay, so if you want to have elite intel, make sure you got a membership there, make sure you're locked in. They're going to keep you in the know. We're going to have intel on this show as well pertaining to Florida State, so make sure you're subscribed. But the first thing that I want to know is, how crisp do they look? And, okay, I understand that that's a generality. Some of y'all are saying I'm frustrated that you're even saying that out loud. But here's the reason why I'm stressing crispness and operational excellence early on for Florida State. For Florida State, they had a lot of success last year. They had success that they hadn't yet had under Mike Norvell. Put a lot of people on notice, did the Noles, especially for 2023. So if they can be crisp early on, what does that tell you? It tells you the main thing's still the main thing. It tells you they haven't gotten any sort of complacency after hearing how great they are for the last however many months since the season ended. It shows maturity. It shows a desire to continue to progress, and it just shows like we don't need to knock the rust off and get back into the swing of things. We've been chomping at the bit to get to spring football, and when we get there, we've done the right things to be successful. We've been putting in the hours that our coaches aren't able to be around. We've been putting in the hours outside of winter conditioning to where when we hit the field, we go 11 on 11 or 7 on 7, whatever it is, it's like hitting the ground running. We don't have to have this whole revamp reset period. That's very, very important. You also have 10 new transfers. If they can hit the ground running, it shows, one, you're bought in, two, you understand the standard that we are setting here, and three, you get it. Like, you get what we're trying to accomplish. You get what the goal is here. You're not just here to help yourself play in the NFL and try and improve NIL opportunities. Like, you are here on the same mission as us. Okay, so if we can hit the ground running, if we can be crisp early on, and crisp is a general term, but operational excellence, not having false starts, not having drop balls, not having missed reads, like we just pick up where we left off and we build going forward from that. We don't have to take a step back, take 3 steps forward. We just take steps forward. And that's what spring ball is for, and that's what 2023 is about for Mike Norvell and company. More thoughts on that. But if you haven't yet subscribed, would love to have you a part of this. We've had a ton of the Florida State faithful join us, so thank you for that. But like I said, if you haven't yet joined, no time like the present. All right. Also follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JDPikel. Next thing I want to hear, next thing I want to read about, if I'm subscribed to warchant.com, again, Florida State On 3 site, get your membership. How is Jaheim Bell being utilized in this offense? And for those of you that don't know, Jaheim Bell, special player, man, came from South Carolina, was listed as a tight end. Y'all, he played everything for them. Wildcat quarterback, wide receiver, played in the slot. He had 70-plus carries as a running back last year. They were dinged up in the running back room with South Carolina, so they said, who do we need to have touch the football? Who can help us consistently in the ground game? Our tight end. Y'all, there's very few programs in America that operate that way. Only a handful of them. And Jaheim Bell is a special talent. The reason why I'm stressing on why is he being utilized is he is a special change of pace kind of player. And I've told you before in this program, I sat right here and said, for Florida State to take that next step, some of it I think also has to happen on offense. And Jordan Travis has to get right, of course, and I want to see Micah Pittman get right and Johnny Wilson. They all have to continue to progress, right? They all have to continue to pick up where they left off in 2022. But I told you, the numbers that I'm looking at for them from an output perspective, for points per game, they averaged right around 35 last year. To get to where you expect to go, winning the ACC, playing for a college football playoff, competing for a national title again, I think you need to be in that 38 to 40 points per game range. That's my feel on it. Jaheim Bell can help you do that. You put him in the slot, you put Johnny Wilson out wide, maybe you have Micah Pittman in the opposite slot, like that's a problem. But we got to make sure that we're using him correctly. We got to make sure that he is consistently seeing the football. And we haven't seen him really be a true tight end that frequently because of what he was asked to do at South Carolina. So I'm curious to see how he's utilized, where he's lining up at, and how multiple are they with using him. Do we see him at some tailback? I mean, shoot, it's not what he is listed as, but if he can do it for you, might as well throw that wrinkle in there. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. But again, what he can add to your offense, I think, is exactly what the doctor ordered for Florida State. So again, the rumblings, the message boards over on War Chant, that's going to tell us a lot. We'll be back here giving you some spring intel once spring practice does get revved up, so make sure you're subscribed. But I'm telling you, Jaheim Bell is a change of pace kind of player. He's the thunder to your lightning. He is the vertical threat mixed with size. Like, he's a special player, man. Excited to see what he does. Progression on the defensive line. Health is going to be wealth for them when we get into the season. But when we look at the numbers, and the numbers don't provide all the context, so I hear you. But all three of the games that Florida State came up short in last year, they allowed over 165-plus yards rushing. So what does that tell you? The trenches are the key to it all for me. Like, if they can shore up that defensive line and take another step forward when it comes to offensive production, they got a really good chance. That's why I feel really good about them going into the season. And again, health is wealth. Like, I understand that number does not reflect a healthy defensive line for Florida State. But are they able to progress in the spring? Do we watch them during the spring? Do we hear about them during the spring and watch them in the spring game about, hey, this defensive line, man, they're healthy. They had a great winter conditioning. They're bigger. They look like they have more stamina. Like, just a different eye test when it comes to the defensive line. And the reason why I stress it is you and I all know this. When it comes to winning games that matter late in your schedule, when it comes to competing for what you want to compete for, you got to be the tougher team. You got to be the healthier, tougher team. And Florida State has the personnel, but can they progress that personnel, develop that personnel over the course of one offseason into the spring? Do we have a good starting point to be the tougher team? Okay, so I'm excited to watch that, but the defensive line, I think progression is going to be crucial. Now, here's what this all comes down to for me. Consistency. Consistency. This is a new taste for this Florida State team. Like I said, they hadn't made a bowl game yet under Mike Norvell until this past season. So how do you handle success? How do you handle everybody telling you that you've been great? Maybe you're the favorite to win the ACC in some people's minds. Maybe you're a dark horse playoff contender. Like, all that conversation is great, but in-house, you're going to handle your business. How do you go about that? And this looks like, to me, again, going back to what we're hearing from the message boards, going back to what the practice reports are. Heck, read between the lines with Coach Norvell's press conferences. Are we consistently putting together good practices over the course of spring football? Because over spring football, you do get beat up. You do get worn down. You do get tired. You've done a ton of live reps throughout spring more often than not. Are you able to consistently meet the standard that is being set by Mike Norvell, which is a championship-level standard? That's what it comes down to. That is the difference between losing 3 games and winning a national championship. Consistency. Being the same team every single day, or as close to the same team every single day as possible, to achieve what you want to get done. And spring is a great litmus test for that, for the reasons that I just mentioned, for the rigors that I just mentioned. Florida State's dangerous, man. There's a lot of pressure in Tallahassee right now. There's a lot of eyeballs on Tallahassee right now, and for good reason. They put the world on notice last year. Mike Norvell and company have a lot in front of them. And the first building block you lay down for the 2023 season starts March 6th. We'll cover it like no other. The good folks over there at War Chant, the Florida State on 3 site, they will cover it like no other. Make sure you're locked in there. But this has been The Hard Count. Nick Brake, lifting heavy. This is your show. Again, subscribe to this channel if you have not yet. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We're going to keep the party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.